What's good, and welcome into a feel-good Friday edition of Numbers Never Lie. Alongside the great Jemele Hill, I'm the above-average Michael Smith, and we are your co-captains on this hour-long journey through the hottest topics in sports today. Coming up, it hasn't been smooth sailing lately for Russell Wilson. Will he sink the Seahawks on Sunday? Should Peyton Manning steer completely clear of Richard Sherman, and why the game's X factor just might be a boat?
Also, actor Anthony Mackie, one of the co-stars of the upcoming Marvel movie Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Home team.
We're both looking forward to that. He'll join us. And since it's Friday, who better to have join us than actor and comedian Chris Tucker, man?
And you know this!
Plus, we've got two new whiteboards explaining what each team needs to do to cruise to victory. But our number one topic is the captain of the Broncos ship, and that would be Peyton Manning. And the number in the news for him is 1. And that's because with the win over Seattle in Super Bowl 42, Peyton Manning could become the first starting quarterback to win a Super Bowl with two different teams. Some other firsts Manning could accomplish: first player to win a Super Bowl after leading the league in passing yards and passing touchdowns in that season. First player to win a league title while setting records for said passing yards and passing touchdowns in a season since Sid Luckman in 1943. In fact, there are about 5 other historical markers that Manning could achieve with the win. I think if he does win, a lot of people will feel differently about him, myself included, but that also means the same if he loses. How will you feel, or will you feel differently depending on the outcome of Sunday's game?
Will I feel differently about Peyton Manning on Monday?
Yep.
I don't think so.
You didn't sound real sure about that.
This is one of the hardest questions we've ever had, because it's like you put me on the spot. I think I'm rational enough to not make a sweeping judgment or indictment or overstatement or what have you about the outcome of the game as it relates to Peyton Manning's career and his legacy. And I think a lot of it obviously depends on how he plays. If he shreds the Seahawks defense, or if he, completely chokes, I'd like to think I can still appreciate it, because by Monday he'll be a 5-time MVP. I think I can still appreciate him for what he is and what he's been, and that's one of the greatest of all time. Right now I have him number 4 on my list. I don't think I'd be inclined to move him up or down with a win or a loss, but I guess check back with me on Monday. I mean, if I'm saying Peyton Manning, 2-time Super Bowl winner and 5-time MVP, I don't think I'm going to change my mind on him very much. I'm sorry. We got this syrup around here. I'm waffling. That's a hard question for me.
I was going to say, now I understand why for a period of time your Twitter handle was undecided.
Okay,
now you just showcased exactly why.
That's not why, but okay.
Mike, this is real simple, okay? I think it is. Look, he has an opportunity because he's facing a defense that also is being considered historically great. Like you said, let's say he shreds that defense and has a performance for the ages. I think we already appreciate Peyton Manning for his greatness. But I think because of his previous postseason failures,
well, there it is.
That is still in the back of our minds.
So in other words, you still have some doubts that he can erase with a great performance on Sunday. I don't have doubts about him.
I don't have doubts about whether or not he's one of the best to ever play. But I guess because absent of those doubts he's created in the postseason, I might have been more willing, and maybe before this season, to put him in the conversation of, this might be the top 1, 2, or 3 quarterbacks to ever play. So he always has a chance to change that. And I do think it means something very significant if he's able to be the first quarterback to win Super Bowls on 2 different teams. I mean, that is something that is such a rarity.
Well, it's a rarity that you see that kind of quarterback have 4 neck surgeries.
Exactly.
And Andrew Luck come along. I don't give him extra credit for that because I knew he was great. I'm just simply saying, regardless of his performance, it's not going to change what he did this regular season for the last decade and a half.
It does change
is who he is.
This regular season, because if he loses, and especially if he loses poorly, then all of a sudden, I think it takes some luster off of what he accomplished. I'm sorry. At least for me.
I don't feel that way. And especially the way he's performed this postseason so far.
It will feel incomplete.
I feel like I didn't really answer the question. I guess no, I won't feel any different about it on Monday.
Okay, well, I will, depending on how he plays. And the numbers, they say yes. We should feel differently about Peyton Manning on Monday. Peyton will either have become the first quarterback to win a Super Bowl after leading the league in passing yards and touchdowns, or he'll have picked up a 12th career postseason loss, which would break the tie with Brett Favre for the most all time. So he could, wow, what a pendulum, huh?
The number in the news for the Seahawks and Broncos is 5. Sunday will be the 5th Super Bowl since the merger between the league's top scoring defense and scoring offense. But the first such meeting since Super Bowl 25. For what it's worth, the top scoring D has won 3 of the previous 4 clashes of irresistible forces and immovable objects. The Seahawks are the first defense to lead the NFL in points allowed, yards allowed, and takeaways since the '85 Bears, while Denver scored a record 606 points and its 37.9 points per game, ranked second all time. So for Sunday's game, who would you rather have? Denver's offense or Seattle's defense?
I would rather have Denver's offense because obviously this is no disrespect to Seattle's defense. But when you look at how the game is officiated, and this is where the referees are going to play a very critical part. If they are, let's just say, if they scrutinize the way that Seattle's cornerbacks, the way that they tend to, some would say, have the reputation for mugging receivers. If those calls go in Denver's favor and that you're dealing with a veteran group, a fast group of wide receivers, then I think that's going to put Denver at a very decided advantage. And I'd rather have that advantage considering that most of the game is officiated in a way that benefits offensive players. Not to mention the fact that this is also a receiving corps that had over 4,000 yards receiving and 41 touchdowns.
Okay, so one of the reasons I struggle with the first question, will I feel differently about Peyton on Monday, is because of what I expect to happen on Sunday. Remember at the beginning of the season when Peyton started out with 7 touchdown passes? And I said, given his arsenal of weapons, he has no excuses not to win the whole thing. I didn't factor in just how great Seattle's defense was going to be and that he was going to have to go through them to get a title.
So you're ready to give them the excuse?
Seattle, I got Seattle winning this game because of its defense. That's why I'm picking them in large part. Because you're talking about a defense that gets pressure on opposing quarterbacks on 32% of their dropbacks, okay? A league high 201 pressures this year. Now, I know what you're thinking. Peyton doesn't get pressured that often. 5 times his postseason, no sacks. When he does, though, his total QBR goes from 92 when he doesn't get pressure to about 10 when he does get pressure. And pressure has a way of making all-time great quarterbacks look average. And they can get pressure with 4 guys, not to mention a physical secondary that tackles. They will not allow the Broncos receivers to get the yards after the catch. Seattle allows the fewest yards after the catch in the league this year. So I'm looking at a defense that I'm saying, you know what, is so fundamentally sound, fast and physical, until I expect them to give the Broncos offense problems, and therefore Seattle will win this game. I'm going on record right now saying that.
Well, here's the other side of that, and I have Denver winning this game in part because of their offense. And when you break down Seattle's season, you know the quarterbacks that gave them the most trouble is the quarterbacks that they played on the road. Okay, Andrew Luck being one. I mean, he completely, all those glorified statistics that you just cited, they definitely didn't apply in that game. And the other one that Seattle lost to away from home was Colin Kaepernick in San Francisco. And you see some of the same. I'm not going to suggest again that Seattle has role problems, but the bottom line is they will. This is another situation where they're playing a top flight quarterback away from home. And I think that a lot of those stats that they have been able to load up in their own building, in their comfort zone. All
I'm saying, look, a lot of people say, okay, we'll forget about the outside. They like to work Julius Thomas down the middle. Tony Gonzalez, Jimmy Graham, Vernon Davis in 6 games combined for 14 catches and 136 yards. This is a defense that is hard. I know Peyton is great at exploiting weaknesses and figuring out, schemes. They line up, do what they do, and they rush with 4. They blitz 3 times this postseason. They get pressure with 4 guys and drop 7. You know what a luxury that is?
Yeah, you know what a luxury it is to have a quarterback that can get the ball out as fast as Peyton Manning?
Would you rather have Denver's offense or Seattle's defense on Sunday? The numbers say Denver's offense. The Broncos went 4-0 against top 10 defenses this season, and in those games, their offense was 16% more efficient than their season average. That's interesting. Seattle went 4-2 against top 10 offenses, with their defense playing 34% less efficiently than their average. I'm matching all these wrong answers. Later on, we'll get literally animated. We'll show you not 1, but 2 new whiteboards explaining how both the Seahawks and Broncos can neutralize their opponent's primary strength.
All right, speaking of the big game, or more with the big game, the number in the news for Russell Wilson is 32.1. That's his total QBR, beginning with a Week 14 loss at San Francisco. In fact, it's the lowest QBR by any quarterback in his 6 games leading up to the Super Bowl since we started tracking this stuff in 2006. Here's another fun fact. Wilson actually edged out Rex Grossman, who had a 33.7 mark going into Super Bowl 41, which of course ended in a loss to Peyton Manning. Mike, can Seattle survive another mediocre, getting my Richard Sherman on, performance by Russell Wilson?
I think they can. I don't think he has to be special in order for Seattle to win this game. I don't want anybody out there getting this idea that somehow Russell Wilson has to match Peyton Manning, because that's just not going to happen. And I don't want him to go in as a young quarterback thinking that he has to somehow play above himself, above his head. All he has to do is continue to give beast mode and Marshawn Lynch opportunities, because Marshawn Lynch is talking about a guy who's got 100 yards in 4 out of 6 playoff games. Only 3 guys have a higher yards per game average in postseason history, minimum 5 games, than Marshawn Lynch. Guy's got 4 runs, touchdown runs of 25 yards or longer, twice as many as anybody else in NFL history. I already said Seattle's going to win this game on the back of its defense, but Marshawn Lynch, I believe, will be the MVP. I'm kind of rooting for that because I want him to have a press conference afterward. I want Marshawn Lynch to say, I'm going to Disney World.
Shortest press conference in the history of the Super Bowl.
Right, but all Russell Wilson has to do, I hate to go to the old cliche, but it's not lose the game. And when those opportunities come to make plays outside the pocket, he was the best scrambler in the league this year. Make plays outside the pocket, maybe late in the game come up with a big play. Get the ball to Percy Harvin, who was the best yards after catch receiver in the league with Minnesota last year. Let the players around you win this game. Just don't make the big mistake. That's all I need from Russell Wilson if I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan.
It's amazing because this game, and it's a testament to how their strengths kind of collide, that we can literally have a stat fight about this entire game.
It really is amazing.
Because as much as you pointed out, Marshawn Lynch, I would agree, that's the key to the game. Here's the problem. Denver's defense is awfully good against the rush. Need I remind you, the Patriots against the Colts, they had 234 rushing yards. What happened against Denver? They had 64. The Chargers, they had 196 rushing yards. What happened against them?
Which I predicted all of those, if you recall, but I will just counter with this. Are they Seattle's running game? Do any of those guys have beast mode in the backfield?
All I know is that they have held their 4 straight opponents to under 17 points, which means that Russell Wilson, he's going to have to make plays. It's a reason why when you watch Denver's games, I don't care if it's Russell Wilson or Phillip Rivers or Tom Brady, whatever the quarterback, there is a understood pressure that you have to score points. And I know that Seattle's defense is obviously excellent, but you can't sit there and go 3 and out on this team because Peyton is coming down the field on you every single time.
I feel you on that, but I'd rather 3 and out and punt and live to fight another series than a turnover. And that's what I mean. I just don't want Russell Wilson to get so caught up in trying to make big plays.
But a 3 and out against Denver is like a turnover.
Not when you got that defense. Play field position. Play your game. I mean, Pete Carroll, all the people who were talking about Russell Wilson's total QBR in the playoffs, like me, Pete Carroll will sit up there like, yo, Russell Wilson is making the type of plays that we need from him to win games. I don't want him to get out of character. You're right about that implied pressure facing Peyton. Not looking for him to do that.
And let's not also forget that Seattle's offensive line hasn't been that good. By our pass protection metric, they rank 30th. Russell's been hit an awful lot in the last few weeks.
I'm about to go 0 for 3. I'm having a mediocre performance right now.
Can Seattle survive another mediocre performance by Russell Wilson? You say yes, I say no, and the numbers also say no. So yeah, you're going 0 for 3.
At least I'm matching.
The Seahawks have pushed the limits, winning 3 straight games despite a sub-40 QBR from Russell Wilson each time. No team in the last 8 seasons has won 4 straight games without their QB posting a QBR above 55 at least once.
Okay. The number in the news for the Broncos is 45. Denver's media session lasted 45 minutes yesterday. That's 45 minutes too long if you ask some Broncos. For the second straight day, they met the media aboard a docked cruise ship called the Cornucopia Majesty. About a dozen Broncos complained of queasiness, dizziness, and headaches. Meanwhile, the Seahawks did their interviews in a hotel ballroom about a mile away. Now, I got a problem with this, okay? Mainly because I feel the Broncos' pain.
Oh, really?
I was on vacation a couple weeks ago. I went to Tobago, took my family on a glass-bottom boat trip.
Okay.
Thought it was going to be nice. Kids going to get to see the fishies and everything. Spent the whole time heaving overboard the whole time. In the nice blue, pretty ocean, I'm losing my breakfast and lunch. And I'm sitting up here reading this saying this is the last thing the Broncos need to be dealing with this week. You want to eliminate distractions and, any variables. You want to have the most focused, comfortable week possible as you prepare for the biggest game of your life. And you got guys getting seasick. Meanwhile, Seattle's on land. This is the type. You don't need this. They don't need this. This is an unfair advantage. It affected their preparation day in and day out, and that bothered me on behalf of the Broncos.
You know, this is what's so amazing about you, Mike, is that, you know, despite the fact you're a very put-together, professional, you know, upstanding guy, you have got to be one of the biggest wusses I've ever known in my life. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding, and I mean that with all due respect and the love of a friend. With all due respect. Okay, seasick. America, let me tell you something about this guy right here. He is afraid. You have a phobia about everything. You're afraid of everything. And you know what, Mike?
Like Charlie Brown or something?
Like Charlie Brown. And because I know how you are, I decided so America can understand what I'm dealing with every day.
What you do?
Hey, y'all, I need you to call up this full screen. Now, keep in mind, I have listed your top 5 fears. Now, understand, I had a hard time limiting it to 5 because it's really like 500. Number 1, water. Yet,
I can't swim.
Dude. Really? You're afraid of water?
I perpetuate that stereotype. I can't swim, so I try to avoid water as much as possible.
And you shower every day, most days. Amazing that gets done. Heights. Really? Heights. You can't go on roller coasters. No.
I don't mess with roller coasters. I don't mess with amusement park rides. No, none of that stuff.
Okay. You're also afraid of sudden movements.
My nerves bad.
Why?
I don't know.
Like, does it scare you? You all right?
I saw that coming. That was different.
That was different?
Your cat Venus get to jumping around. That's just, I ain't for that.
And what else did we have? Like, random lion attacks? I remember that was one. Isn't
everybody afraid of that?
No, Mike. Only you sit up there and obsess about it.
In horror movies, it's the same thing.
Movies. Here it is.
My nerves bad. I don't like being startled.
Okay, so
don't be running up on me, man.
So let me get this straight. So you're afraid of water, heights, sudden movements, random lion attacks, bats. That's another one.
Bats frighten me.
Okay.
I want my enemies to share my dread.
What is wrong with you?
Nothing wrong with me. There's plenty of people out there. You ever been seasick?
No.
That's seriously a miserable feeling because you're trapped. Add claustrophobia there if you want to. You are trapped. The Broncos were trapped on this boat, talking to the media. They probably had headaches when they got off the boat, queasiness or whatever. That might have affected their preparation. Seriously, I mean, I'm throwing up on the side of the boat in Tobago. Ruined my whole vacation.
Mike, I need you to put on your big boy jeans. All right, we're gonna work this out.
Why you gotta put my business in the street?
There's professionals you can talk to about this. You know this, right? Here, you know it.
I don't have to talk to anybody. Just stay out of the water.
Here you go. Here, I'll make sure that it won't be a sudden.
You read the number.
Okay.
You're the one who decided you wanted to put my ears out there. Like last time I trust you.
Do you have a problem with the Broncos having media sessions on a boat?
Yeah.
I thought I would share it with America so you can help you get over this. The numbers say no. The worst case seasickness scenario would be a player coming down with disembarkment syndrome, a rare condition of persistent motion sickness that can occur after boating. But here's the good news for Denver. The condition is 9 times more likely to occur in women than men.
The number in the news for Chris Tucker is 2,162 because today is Friday. And this is the 2,162nd Friday of Chris Tucker's life. And there's no better way to spend a Friday than on Numbers Never Lie. And you know this, man! That's why you're all here. And guess who else is here? The great actor and comedian, Chris Tucker, joins Numbers Never Lie. What's up, man?
What's up, man? I like those numbers.
Hey, you know, Peyton Manning's got some amazing numbers throughout his career. Here's what I want to put you on the spot with. Should people be rooting for or against him this weekend?
They should be rooting for him, man, because he just got a style like no other, man. And, you know, the way he, run his plays, Omaha. I was like, why is he saying Omaha? He don't play for Omaha. I like that, man. And the way he just reads defenses and stuff, I like his play. So they should root for it.
I feel you. I'm in my heart of hearts, I'm rooting for Peyton as well. I picked Seattle to win, or I'm picking Seattle to win. But I would hate to see Peyton come this far and come up short given the season that he's had. It almost feels like it needs to have the perfect ending for him, at least this year.
Yeah, see, that's how I am too. I'm mixed. I'm kind of bandwagon too, so I jump on anybody's bandwagon who's winning, like sports, definitely sports. So I want Seattle, I want Denver, but I like Peyton. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and speaking of bandwagons, a lot of people were jumping off of Richard Sherman's bandwagon after that post-game rant that he had after winning the NFC title game over San Francisco. One thing that to me got overlooked is the fact that Richard Sherman, his trash talk on Michael Crabtree really wasn't that good when you just look at it on his face, right?
Yeah, it was kind of, he scared me. I was like, what's wrong with him? He just won. He act like he lost.
Right.
Why he so mad?
Exactly.
Don't ever talk about me. said, I don't even know what he said about you, man.
Exactly.
Celebrate.
So, Chris, I mean, with you being, you're one of the most quick-witted comedians. A lot of people talked about how you ad-lib so much on Friday. Give Richard Sherman some trash talk tips, man. How does he need to step his game up?
He should have just, if I beat somebody, me and my brothers used to play basketball in the backyard. My brother used to beat me or I beat him. What we used to do is just run in the house and don't play him again. That was the worst thing you could do, not even say nothing. My brother would just go in the house. I'm like, where you going? He'd be like, let's play another game. Nah, I'm done. They fix some cereal. That's what you do when you win. You don't talk junk because that makes somebody, that make them feel good about themselves. But if you just don't say nothing and run in the dugout or run up in the locker room and then say, we're going to the Super Bowl, that's what make people mad. You got to say nothing.
Now, see, Terrence Knighton, Pop Roast, as he's known from the Broncos, he got the trash talk game figured out. He says he is Googling information about Seahawks center Max Unger so you'd have some personal ammunition to trash talk on Sunday. Is that going too far, or is that's just how the game goes?
That's going too far. You can't be talking about nobody's mama and stuff like that and personal stuff. You got kept back in the second grade. You can't be saying stuff like that. That people, they time out. You take your helmet off. Take your helmet off. Want to fight?
Well, Colin Kaepernick, obviously, he hasn't been able to let go of what happened in Seattle. He's been talking about how Denver, they're going to be able to exploit Seattle's defense. He called what Richard Sherman said ridiculous. Now, a losing quarterback talking junk about the team in the Super Bowl, does that make Colin Kaepernick look bad?
Yeah, he should just go ahead and model on the off season, just go down to Miami, have a good time, get a tan, man. Don't get upset about all that, But dude did over exaggerate. But Kaepernick, I like Kaepernick too. He's cool, but he don't need to say nothing about it. Just go ahead and go do something else.
Well, the winning quarterback in that game, Russell Wilson, let's talk about him, but I don't want to talk about his style of play. I want to talk about his look. And you're the perfect person to ask about this.
I like Russell, man. That's a nice guy, man. That's the guy you want your friend. He's just a nice guy. You ask him about his crazy teammates, he'd be like, I don't know. He's a good guy in the locker room.
Well, you know what else is nice though? His hair. So I want to ask you, who's got the better hair, Chris? Russell Wilson or Big Perm? I mean Big Worm.
Big Worm. I think Russell Williams, man. He looked like the guy from The Last Dragon. I think that's his cousin or somebody. Remember The Last Dragon? I might not remember The Last Dragon. Bruce Leroy, man. He's back. Yeah, show enough. Bruce Leroy, man, he's back as a quarterback. This boy is bad. He was starring in that movie and now he's playing quarterback.
He got the glow?
Yeah, he got that glow. He got that glow. He got that glow. He got it, man.
Directing your feet to the Daddy Green's Pizza.
Yeah, one of the barge. This ring for the lover in you. This ring. He be singing out there. That's what's throwing people off. Man, is he singing? Is the quarterback singing? I think he is. He's been the DeBarge, the youngest brother.
Personally, I think he looks a little bit more like Johnny Mathis, but that's just me. Just a little bit. Well, look, we're going to jump over to the NBA because we know you're out there in Hollywood and obviously pay attention to the Lakers. Now, there's our own Chris Broussard said that a GM told him there's a 100% chance that Kevin Love is going to be a Laker in 2 seasons. How do you think that could work out?
They need him, man, because the last Laker game I went to, they wanted me to play. They was losing so bad. I said, no, man, I'm coming here to enjoy myself. I'm not playing. I'm not getting in the game. And I think that'd be good for the Lakers, to our boy Kobe come back, Well, Toby hurt his little toe or big toe? I don't know what happened.
It's his knee, but it's all connected.
Right.
I'm sure the toe hurts too.
Or body injury, however you want to put it.
They need Kobe back there.
Hey, you know what else we need back is another Friday movie. We can't let you go without finding out, will there ever be another Friday reunion? Will there be another movie, another sequel?
It might be, man. Last Friday, we talk, there's talk, as you know, and me and Q were talking about trying to see if we could work something out. The only thing holding up is a script, so we'll see if one come together. We'll see what happens, All
right, man. We got to find out if Smokey ever got another job after stealing boxes. No, that was Craig.
That's right.
No,
that's right. That was Craig.
Right.
Smokey didn't have no job.
We got to find out if you paid back Big Worm or he just let it go.
That's right.
If you really kicked that habit or not.
Yeah, that's a good plot. I like that. All right, I'm gonna take that back to Cube. See what he thinks.
Can we be in it?
Of course.
There you go.
Yeah, see, that's one of those Hollywood of courses. That's all right. I appreciate the sentiment. It's all
Appreciate it, man. Enjoy the rest of your Friday.
All right, man. Y'all too, man. Thank you. Numbers never lie.
The number of the news for Roger Goodell is 40 degrees because the forecast now calls for the temperature to be about 40 degrees at kickoff of the Super Bowl. So it looks like all the talk about the snow and the wind might have been overblown. But of course, Roger Goodell talked about the weather in his annual press conference. Check out how he started the whole thing.
One unique aspect about the focus for this year's Super Bowl has been on the weather. Of course, we cannot control the weather. I told you we were going to embrace the weather. Here we go.
Well played. You spent all this time, all the hue and crying, gnashing of teeth about the weather and how this was a disaster waiting to happen. Look, what's the forecast? It looks great. It's not, I mean, obviously, relatively speaking, but it looks like it's going to be just fine. It's not going to affect the quality of the game. What you got to say now at the How the Commission?
You know, it's very appropriate that he had the fake snow falling in the background because he snowed people like you and the rest of America who thinks that it's a good idea to have a cold weather Super Bowl.
You're still not coming off of that.
You guys are happy it's 40 degrees. Like, oh my God, you made it sound like it was 85, like it's balmy. All right? It's still a bad idea, and it's not just about the game. It's about the fact that, see, we forget that the Super Bowl is a week-long event. There are plenty of festivities all around New York City at Super Bowl Boulevard. I think that's what they're calling it, where fans can enjoy those things. There's not a lot of foot traffic around there. You know why? Because it's too cold. So they can't enjoy all that stuff because everybody wants to stay indoors. Oh, you know what he conveniently forgot to bring up? The fact that Super Bowl tickets are going slowly, more so than they have been in previous years. Why? Nobody wants to sit in the cold and watch a football game. Y'all can make it sound like 40 degrees is great, but it's not. I mean, nobody wants to freeze.
Who hurt you?
Nobody. It's not that.
Why
it's just,
so
it's just this idea that football is somehow better because of the cold weather.
It's not that it's better.
Everybody was saying that is sitting at home watching it on the couch.
It's not so much that it's better, but I think it goes to show. I mean, a couple of years ago down in Dallas, there were ice issues. It was a disaster. Inside of Jerry Jones's wonderful stadium, there were seating issues. So a lot of times, even in the most perfect of conditions, you could have logistical issues. I'm just saying, you acted like this was going to be a disaster, and it has not been a disaster. Has it been ideal? All your points are well taken. Probably not. But I think it's been a success so far. And if the game is played well, the wins aren't even supposed to be that bad. I mean, if the game is played and it's a quality game, that's what's most important as far as I'm concerned.
The Super Bowl has become more than just a game. It's an event. It's supposed to be a destination trip, obviously for the players and also for the fans of those individual teams and just football fans in general. The way you eliminate all this, have it in, I'll say, one of three cities: Miami, New Orleans, or San Diego. Have it in one of those three.
No argument here. Let's run through a couple other things Roger Goodell had to say. One of them was the Washington Redskins name controversy. I believe he was asked, would you ever call a Native American or Redskin to his face? His answer to the whole controversy was that the vast majority of Americans in general and Native Americans in particular support the franchise keeping the nickname. But this is where it was interesting. Somebody asked if the term was appropriate to refer to a Native American. He said, this is the name of a football team. Not quite.
That's not a good answer.
Yeah, I'm not feeling that.
No, I'm not either.
Kind of avoiding the issue here.
I think he is avoiding it, and it seemed to me that throughout this entire conversation about this name, that Roger Goodell is really unwilling to fully engage in it. I think he's doing the respectful thing by hearing out a lot of the groups and people who have issue with this particular term, but I just don't see him being genuine about doing something about it. The fact is, and I thought that was a great question, if you can't say that to somebody's face, and if you wouldn't, then it certainly doesn't need to be on the it doesn't need to be a nickname for one of your signature franchises.
Another interesting question, he was asked about perhaps the league loosening its policy as it relates to marijuana, given that some states are legalizing it. And one of the reporters asked him if he would be willing to undergo random drug testing. I thought he handled it pretty well. He said, look, I am randomly tested. I'm happy to say I'm clean. But he said they're not going to loosen it. It's still illegal in the majority of the country, but he is open to, obviously, medicinal marijuana if it helps with concussions, which, by the way, as you know, the league announced yesterday that it's down 13% since last year. He also said in his press conference that he was confident that the concussion settlement between the league and former players will eventually be approved. So a lot of stuff to digest from the State of the League press conference.
The medical marijuana issue will be interesting because as the nation, as various states kind of move towards some form of legalized marijuana, I'm very curious as to how not just the NFL but the NBA and other professional sports leagues will handle that.
Should have asked. Let's move on. All right, that's going to do it. Hey, still to come, 40 pages of text between Jonathan Martin and Richie Incognito will release. Fascinating, appalling. Read them and decide for yourself. We'll talk about it later on. Plus, David Stern is walking away. What's the one thing that probably defines his legacy more than anything else?
He shouldn't have done anything about hand checking. Anyway, first, get involved in ESPN's Twitter vote on the Super Bowl. Who do you think is going to win the game? Reply with either Seahawks or Broncos to hashtag who's going to win. Also, the dress code. That was another Stern thing.
Play on words, Stern.
I didn't even try to do that.
College basketball Saturday on ESPN Fİrst at 4 Eastern. Andrew Wiggins. Hopefully Embiid's playing, right? Kansas versus Texas. Then at 6:30, CJ Fair and Syracuse against Jabari Parker and Duke. That's some big-time games tomorrow. What a weekend. Speaking of the weekend, I mean, think about this NBA schedule on ESPN the next 2 days. Friday at 8 Eastern is Kevin Durant and the Thunder against the Nets. Rumors about the Nets looking at him. They can scout him in person. Then Saturday at 8:30, Carmelo and the Knicks against LeBron and the Heat. I mean, can this weekend get any better?
Interesting that the two best players in the league, both in New York during the Super Bowl. David Stern with the hookup on the way out.
Well, you don't want the Super Bowl there anyway, so it wouldn't work if it wasn't there, huh?
Whatever. The number in the news for Peyton Manning, speaking of the Super Bowl, is 59.4%. That's Manning's completion percentage on throws outside the right numbers on the field, which is the lowest of any direction in which he throws. That's significant because Richard Sherman has lined up on the offense's right for 98% of his snaps this season. Sherman has 8 interceptions, which lead the league, and his 125 interception return yards are more than all of Denver's defensive backs combined. So, Mike, should Peyton Manning just shy away from Richard Sherman?
And you're asking somebody who you put on blast at the beginning of the show about all my fears, right?
Yes.
So naturally, my answer here is yes, he should, because discretion is the better part of valor. Okay, and this ain't about being a hero. This ain't about proving a point. This is about winning the game. And if Peyton Manning has this bevy, this plethora, this selection of weapons to choose from which to choose, then why would you go at a corner who's got the 3rd most interceptions in his first 3 seasons of anybody since the merger? Okay, don't test Richard Sherman. Don't test me. Don't test him with, well, they're not mediocre receivers, but nonetheless, he's the best quarterback in the game. So you go away from him. You know, you find some, when Akeem Talib was on Demaryius Thomas in the Patriots game, he didn't go at him. When Akeem Talib went out, he exploited that matchup. Peyton is a guy who plays the percentages. He's smart. They got the 2nd best percentage allowed outside the right field numbers in the league. Why are you going at Richard Sherman?
See, now I know why you've never been to Vegas. Now I understand it. Yeah, I'm putting all your business out there. Now I get it. Because there's a tried and true phrase, scared money don't make none. All right? And if I'm Peyton Manning.
Fortune favors the bold.
Thank you. If I'm Peyton Manning and I've thrown 55 touchdowns, 41 to this group of wide receivers, I'm not suggesting that he just tried Richard Sherman on every play.
Sound like it.
But what am I scared of? I'm Peyton doggone Manning.
I'm Richard Sherman. Don't throw no ducks at me.
Peyton is entitled to his swag just as much as Richard Sherman is. And furthermore, I mean, I don't know if he can avoid doing this.
Yeah, he can.
No, he can't, because look, 51% of his snaps, Wes Welker is on the right side. Eric Decker, 52%, he's over there. Demaryius, 45%. At some point, he's going to have to go over there.
No, he doesn't, because he's got so many options. So why take the option with the least amount of success rate?
Why get out of your character?
No, if anybody's limiting themselves, it's Seattle's defense, because Richard Sherman is almost he is a left corner exclusively. So you know what? That's what the problem I have with Colin Kaepernick and the 49ers. If you want to throw to Michael Crabtree, put him on the left side. Why would you put him up against Richard Sherman?
He could have underthrew the ball. That was the mistake.
Okay,
the mistake
why would Peyton Manning
go out there like nobody's ever completed a pass on Richard Sherman. Roddy White would beg to differ. Did you see Matt Ryan going away from him? No. Yeah, be quiet.
What did I do to you?
Nothing. What did I do to you? Nothing. What did I do
to you?
Look.
You're just picking on me today.
Scaredy cat. Should Peyton shy away from Richard Sherman? You say yes. I say no. You're lucky. The numbers are with you.
Finally.
The numbers are so scared.
Hell. That's like the first one I got right today.
According to Pro Football Focus, Richard Sherman held quarterbacks throwing into his coverage to a 47.3 NFL passer rating. That was the lowest by any cornerback this season.
I'm saying, play the percentages. All right, let's end this show right. We're going to start this thing off right. We ended it. Time for some numbers that you need to know. Feel Good Friday edition. The number you need to know for Rich Incognito is 4, because his attorney released 40 pages worth of text between Incognito and Jonathan Martin of CBS 4 in Miami. A lot of stuff in there. What was your big takeaway from it?
My big takeaway is what it's been for months. I don't understand this. I don't know what's going on. They were going back and forth, talking very aggressively to one another. I don't know what their relationship was.
Thank you. What did I say from the very beginning of this situation? It's much like a marriage. Unless you're in it, you're in no position to decide what the relationship was between two people. Everybody tried to make referendums on the Dolphins locker room and NFL locker rooms at large, when the truth of the matter is, they had this little Wu-Tang comedy going, talking about all the things that they were going to do to each other. Sound like Into the 36 Chambers. They were on some other stuff between these two. So you know what? My name, Paul, that's between y'all. I'm sick of trying to figure out the dynamic of their relationship.
And the number for the NBA All-Star game is 14, because the 14 All-Star reserves were announced yesterday. Among those snubbed, DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis, who are both in the top 5 in player efficiency. Obviously, you got a problem with Anthony Davis not being an All-Star reserve.
I was tempted, this, when I made another unfortunate list recently. I was tempted. I was like, man, Anthony Davis is right on the borderline of top 5 this season. Very soon he'll be a top 5 player. He's 5th in the player efficiency rating right now. He's as good a 20-year-old as we've seen since KG. And DeMarcus Cousins, what a season he's had. Might be the best center in the Western Conference right now. So I'm not a big snub guy, but I would especially have liked to see Anthony Davis, if nobody else, play in the All-Star game in New Orleans, for crying out loud.
Yeah, it seems because of the hometown connection that they could have done a better job with this.
Kyle Lowry in the East, too. The number you need to know for Eli Manning is 42 because his helmet from Super Bowl 42 is on display in Canton. But a lawsuit against Eli and the Giants alleges, among other things, that it's a fake. What do you make of this bizarre story that Eli says he's going to fight it because it's not true?
Well, I know that if true, that it makes the Giants and Eli Manning, especially considering the Mannings are considered football royalty in class, to be associated with selling fake memorabilia and therefore scamming fans is a bad deal. Here's the real question, Mike.
What's up?
What you do with your game-worn jersey or what you beat Eli Manning in high school? Is it hanging somewhere? Did you keep it? What? What'd you do with it?
Eli asked for it. I gave it to him as a show of respect after the game. Like I told him, keep your head up. You're going to do great things. Eli's not holding that trophy.
This is not called lies.
The number you need to know for Percy Harvin is 40, Jamel. Injuries have limited him to just 40 snaps all season. I thought it was 33. But anyway, he's expected to play on Sunday. Is he the main X factor for Seattle? I believe he is.
It's hard for me to put any real trust in somebody who hasn't been there this season, even somebody as dynamic as Percy Harvin.
They got to account for him, though. That's the bottom.
Yeah,
Denver
you're
has
right.
to account for him when he's on the field.
If they had to spend any time thinking about what he might do, I guess the mission has been accomplished.
Or even just on Sunday. They have to know where he is at all times.
I just hope he can complete this game. I mean, he's had an unfortunate injury history, and it would be sad if he didn't finish this game on some kind of high note, or finish this season, rather.
You know, all jokes aside, I mean, seriously, I almost said something else. He could actually end up being an MVP.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
When he does on special teams, he could MVP of the game if they win. The number you need to know for Kyrie Irving is 3.
Because he is one of 3 players averaging 21 points, 6 assists this season. LeBron and Steph Curry are the others. But there are rumblings that he plans to pull a LeBron and get out of Cleveland.
Let's say what you said this morning. You heard that number. What'd you say this morning?
Look at you jumping in.
What'd you say?
I said that I think he's overhyped. And I do wonder about this boiling situation in Cleveland because, I don't know, I just haven't seen the leadership that I've expected from Kyrie Irving. I know he's had some beef with Deion Waiters. And his field goal percentage, I mean, he's shooting like 43%. That's not great for a guard.
He still gets buckets.
Yeah, because it takes him a lot of shots. Because he doesn't shoot that well. Maybe that's what it is.
The number you need to know for David Stern is 30 because David Stern's 30-year reign as NBA commissioner comes to a close tomorrow. What's his legacy in your mind?
I think his legacy is, he's been one of the finest commissioners in all of professional sports. And I know people have beef with some of the decisions he's made, the dress code, and I even like to think he took away a little fun from the game by making everything slanted toward the offense. But when you consider the fact that the NBA was on tape delay at some point, I mean, it's a global game because of David Stern.
No doubt. Their revenue was less than $30 million when he took office. Today, it's about $1 billion with a B. And you mentioned globalization. Hey, don't forget.